Hello everybody, this is Countdown VHS, and welcome to 4th Age Total War. We are starting up a new Let's Play today featuring the Kingdom of Dorwinion in the mod 4th Age Total War, so let's just take a look at the opening here. Now this is a mod for Rome Total War Barbarian Invasion. If you are thinking, geez, I don't have the ability to play this because I need the remaster, you are actually in possession of the game that you need. When you buy the remaster, you also get the old version of the game, so you can play this. But at any rate, we're going to be kicking off our Dorwinian campaign. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, kind of saving it for a while. We've been through most of these factions in some form or another on the channel. So if you're interested in any other factions, check through the channel, and there's a very good chance you'll find something on it. I've got guides for all of these factions, whether we're talking in terms of the campaign or in terms of battle strategies, and then, as I said, I've got Let's Plays on almost all of them. The only ones I don't have are Dorwinian, which we're doing today, Far Harad, which we will get to, and I think the Bjornings, and that may be it. Now, I haven't necessarily finished every single Let's Play that I've started. There are some that I've gotten to, like, what felt like a good stopping point, but most of them we've seen through to completion. So, Dorwinian. Dorwinian is a one that is represented very differently in different media. For example, my understanding is in 3rd Age Total War, which is for Medieval 2, Dorwinian is represented as maybe an elven kingdom, or maybe sort of a hybrid Mannish and elven kingdom. I'm not totally sure. In 4th Age Total War, we have gone in a different direction with it. I can see where the elven link may come in because the name is in Sindarin. And the implication in The Hobbit is that the wine that the elven king drinks comes from Dorwinian, and that might suggest some sort of elven connection. I like the idea of elves being elsewhere in Middle-earth. I love the idea of some sort of otherwise unknown elven realm existing. But the evidence for that is relatively slight, or maybe that's even to put it too weakly. The evidence for that is kind of non-existent. We don't have any other sort of Sindarin elf realms that we know about. And there's been a few sort of competing schools of thought on this. I think Michael Martinez laid out the case for an elven Dorwinian, and I believe it's Liliath who laid out the case for a Mannish Dorwinian, and particularly a Mannish King Bloodorthin, right? That's one of the other names from The Hobbit. He's often been connected with Dorwinian. But anyway, we've got a Mannish kingdom here, and the sort of history behind it, you can read more about it in the mod details. The history behind Dorwinian as we imagine it, and we pick up our cues from that Liliath article as well, is that this was likely a place that was settled by Gondor, maybe 1,500, 2,000 years prior to the start of the mod. So around the time when Gondor was doing its greatest expansion under, I think it was Turambar who received these eastern lands, and that stretched all the way to the Sea of Rune. That's pretty much the area of Dorwinian. However, that area was lost eventually, and Gondor never reclaimed it. And so we've, from that, extrapolated that while there may have been a sort of Gondorian structure left behind in Dorwinian, the majority of the population there would be North Mannish, right? So related to the people of Dale. And that makes sense because we know that Dale did have, in the 4th Age, was said to have expanded far into the east and must have had sort of trade contacts going down the river. So that's what we've gone with for Dorwinian. So you can expect kind of a Dalish style faction with some interesting mixes. Now, as normal, we're going into our decidedly Tookish, which is the medium campaign difficulty, and Bull Roaring, which is the hard battle difficulty. We're playing on large and manage all, and we're just going to start the campaign. Dorwinian is one that I don't know if I've ever completed a campaign as, actually. I've started campaigns several times. They're a very interesting faction. I think they are initially the smallest faction in 4th Age Total War. They've only got 2 settlements. Everyone else has at least 3. And despite that, they have some really strong units. They've got a very interesting mix of kind of light, scrappy, Northmanish style units at the lower tiers, and then sort of heavier, better armed, more solid, staunch, somewhat Dunedainic influenced units at the higher tiers. Because of that Dunedainic influence and because of their sort of defensive nature, we're also portraying them as mostly an infantry faction, although, as you will see, they do have some very, very nice cavalry. And their bodyguard is a cavalry unit, but more about that shortly. So I'll just read this little faction intro. Dorwinion has a long history of wealth brought about by its famed wines. It also has historical ties to the men of Gondor, who may have been responsible for establishing the pleasant and fertile region near the Sea of Rhûn. The peace of Alessar's rule in the west of Middle-earth allowed for the Northmen in these regions to prosper and multiply, and Dorwinion, like Dale, expanded during this time. But the reunited kingdom of Gondor and Arnor now faces troubles of its own, and with the rise of Easterling activity, Dorwinion must see to its own rule and defenses, or fall under the Easterling tide, a fate that may yet befall them. Dorwinion is a small kingdom with no true allies, and its infantry-focused armies must be strong indeed to weather the storm that approaches. All right, so this is our initial starting position here. We've got 2 settlements, Belligant, our capital, in Dorwinion proper. A wonderful settlement, very well developed. Let's take a look at that trade, although it hasn't really kicked off yet. We're already making 1,500 in trade tariffs without any trade agreements yet. And look at all of this. Wine, of course, is being exported just all over the place. Look at all of the provinces that we border. This is what makes Dorwinion, Belligant in particular, an economic powerhouse. This is just a fantastic settlement. It's very fertile in addition to that, and it's got sea access. So while we're only trading with a single province right now, notice how much we're making on that one wine export to Hive. Now, Hive is a rebel settlement. It's right here, and that means that we are not at war with the rebels currently. You can see our little trade route there. So it sort of behooves us to remain at peace with the rebels for kind of as long as we can. We do have another rebel province right nearby that we could take early, but I don't think we'll be doing that. We're going to try to hold on to Hythe as a trade partner until we're ready to take it. This is a province that I'm always not, I'm never quite sure how to play, because do we want to grab it immediately because it's pretty safe, or do we, because it's safe, keep it as a trade partner and just take it at our leisure? Because I don't think it won't be captured very quickly by Rhûn. Our other province is Rathwin, and this is another quite decent one just up the river. It's got fish as a trade resource. It doesn't have as much going on as Belligant, but it's making a little bit of trade income, 333. And as you can see here, once we get the trade summary scroll, there we go. It's making a decent amount. We are importing horses. We are importing livestock, wild game. Belligant has given us the wine. But a lot of this is going to change because we are going to be at war with one or probably more of our neighbors pretty soon. So some of this income is going to go away. Fortunately, this doesn't matter too much right now. But of course, Belligant, the trade income there, that is a bigger deal, right? If we go to war with North Rhûn, for example, we're losing Gargal, Garth as a trade partner. So there's over 300 right there. Yeah, we're gonna be hurting. So let's talk strategy, because Dorwinion, this is another reason I maybe have not finished a campaign with this faction, is that the early game is super fun. It's very challenging. I love early games that start small, right? You feel like you've got to just guard everything. You've got to be very judicious about what you're investing in and where you're posting your troops. Everything just feels so momentous and manageable, right? Because you're making enough money. The problem comes in the mid game, in my experience. And where my problems come in are over here with these guys. This is the Chiefdom of Rhûn. This is the big red Easterling faction in the mod. And it's not that their armies are so tough, because they are very beatable. It's just that there are a lot of them. And their settlements are very far apart, and they are unfriendly to our Northmanic culture. And that means that it's hard for us to hold on to them, and difficult for us to expand and conquer, because our armies are relatively small. So as you can see, we don't have a lot of troops here, right? If we go over to the army view, our units are, they can be amazing. We've got Dorwinian men-at-arms. This is an awesome, mail-armed, shield wall capable. Reasonable morale is an indication of higher than normal morale in this mod. It doesn't sound very exciting, but reasonable morale is a very good thing. And these guys are very solid. 71 men per unit. Dorwinian Watch, one of my favorite looking units. Again, lots of mail, lots of defense, right? 71 men. Decent attack, actually. Again, reasonable morale. And we get halberdiers. This is where we're getting our armor piercing. Good morale, again, mail. So we've got like an awesome infantry corps. The problem is that numbers-wise, all of these units are smaller than pretty much everything Rune can throw at us. So they can outnumber us, man for man, unit per unit. And they produce way more because they've got more settlements and higher population growth. So we suffer from that. Our units are relatively small. Our armies as a whole are also relatively small in terms of numbers. They're well armed. They are good at defense, but they're not as good at sort of, conquering and keeping up the momentum that a barbarian faction, enjoys. So that's a bit of a challenge. It's also a bit of a challenge to my personal play style, because I tend to be I like to go fast. For the most part, I am a little impatient as a player, and on the battlefield, I like cav. Now, Dorwinian does have some excellent cav. We can see some right here. These Rovanian scouts do not look like much, but they are really good. They've got a great charge, great little charge bonus there, and in high numbers, they can just roll over pretty much anything. If you get 20 of these guys together, right, you can, with a little bit of maneuvering, do very, very well in most battles. But I'm not going to play like that. I'm not going to put together a doom stack of Rovanian scouts. It is very affordable, because look at the upkeep is only 150 for these guys. We've got very low upkeep for all of our initial units, but look at that, 410 for our elites, for the Dorwinian, 560 for the men-at-arms, 510 for the halberdiers. So, it kind of would make sense for us to lean heavily on the Rovanian scouts. Also, the population is low, right? Like in terms of the impact to the population by recruiting these guys from our cities. That's another important factor. I'm going to try to play Dorwinian straight. I'm going to try to play it thematically. So that means I'm going to play to what their strengths are, like, lore-wise, right? In terms of what we're going for in a playing experience. This is not going to be the most efficient way to play Dorwinian, but it's what I'm going to aspire to. So yes, conquering into Rune is challenging for us, and it is it can become a morass where you are just sort of sucked into just this endless war in the east. And meanwhile, I remember this very distinctly playing Dorwinian many years ago. I was doing what I thought was pretty well in the east. I was conquering my enemy Rune, and then all of a sudden the Reunited Kingdom is rolling into Rovanian with elite troops. And it was just terrifying, and there was just no way for me to make any headway. So we're going to try something a little different this time. And instead of going east, I am going to go west. I am going to go for a few particular goals in this campaign. We've got a neighbor to our immediate west. So here's one option for us, Rovanian. This is a very similar faction to us in a lot of ways. In fact, the first couple of tiers of military development are identical to ours, right? So we can train all of these units. Rovanian can train all of these units. They get some advantages at the higher tier in terms of cav. We get advantages in terms of infantry. But if we go into Rovanian and capture some territory, that's going to be very friendly land for us to take. And it's also going to allow us to train a lot of our troops. And I think we're also going to get a nice surprise or two by conquering some of Rovanian's most important territories. Like this one in particular, I think will give us a special unit that is otherwise only available to Rovanian. Another important settlement for us is due south. This is the Dwarven settlement of Nereg Zigil. We can't see it yet, but it's right there in the little valley of the mountains. This will be great for us to get because, as you can see, it's got some trade resources. We've got gold here, we've got stone, and we can exploit that to our benefit, but not only economically. Most of the time when you are playing a mannish faction in the 4th Age Total War, you are going to be very limited as to what you can build if you take over non-mannish territories, especially in terms of what you can recruit. But as sort of a reward for taking over like Elven or Dwarven lands, you do get some specialized units in a lot of cases. So if we come down here as Dorwinian and take Nereg Zagil, we are going to be able to train, I believe it's Mountain Wardens. And it's been a long time since I've played or looked at these units, but I believe they are infantry with excellent armor, but warhammers. So shield and hammer. So they're going to be good against armor. I think they can do shield wall. They're just going to be a very, very solid unit for us, which is good because a lot of our units are very sort of defensively oriented, right? The Dorwinian Watch. Even the men-at-arms, these are not like hard hitters in terms of attacking. And these guys are really specialist troops. You don't want to make a full line of halberdiers. So having the Mountain Wardens, right, the Warhammer guys with their shields making a front line is just going to be amazing. So I do want to get that kind of early. Now the trick with going for this settlement early is that this is owned by the Dwarven faction. And if we take a look at the diplomacy here, we can see that the dwarves are allied with the Kingdom of Dale. And Dale is our other neighbor to the sort of northwest. Dale is a big threat in this part of the world. So you may think initially that as a good Northman, your job is to take out the Easterlings, take out Rune over here and North Rune to your north. And that is part of your job. But the other part of your job is to not be absorbed by the growing power of Dale. And this is a really cool, just sort of thematic, sort of a natural thematic outgrowth of the lore of the 4th Age and, just the way Rome Total War plays out. At the end of The Return of the King in the appendices, you can read about Dale expanding, all the way to the Carn in here. And so in the mod, their territory does indeed stretch to the Redwater. And it's bordered on the south by the Kelduin, the River Running. So Dale owns all of this land. And they also, in the mod, have conquered over here. They own Framsburg, near the sources of the Anduin. Dale also, in addition to having the alliance with the dwarves, they have an alliance with the Bjornings. And so the Bjornings occupy the Vales, but also the woods and a settlement over here in the eastern eaves of Mirkwood. So Dale starts off with this very strong alliance block. And they are very rich, and their soldiers are better than ours, and they can train more of them. And you really need to sort of take care of Dale. So playing out the beginning to Dorwinian is a really tricky balance of, taking what you need to take in order to grow and not angering the people who you're not ready to fight yet. So my strategy here, I think, is going to be to focus on the west, maybe to pick on Rovanion early, to grab this when I feel like I can take it, and then to hit Dale as hard as possible, and to move into Dale relatively quickly. I want to keep the Easterlings off my back. I want to try to do that diplomatically, though. Get some trade with them, because they're the ones who are going to be building ports, and I could be trading around the Sea of Rune. Now, I have no illusions that any alliance with the Easterlings are going to hold, but they are going to be hopefully busy doing other things for a while. So maybe if I can establish myself before they get too big, things will work out. So let's take a look at the money here. We're making almost 3,000. That's not great, but we do have the ability to make a little bit of money through diplomacy with our emissary Bryn of Dorwinian. He's tactful. I guess that's going to help. Let's go right to the dwarves first, and let's sell some trade rights. So this is a good initial thing to do. So demand, make single payment, and let's ask for a lot of money. This is probably ridiculous. Okay, they actually want us to pay. Well, I don't want to do that. Usually when you border a settlement, they will pay you for trade rights. So let's ask for a lot less. Let's see. All right, that's pretty weak. 300 for 2 seasons. I'll take it. So we are trading with the dwarves. I don't want to ally with them. I just want to sell trade with them for a little bit, and I don't need map information. So I also want to find where North Rune is. This is going to be important because let's check out diplomacy. So the other nice thing about this is Dale has a couple of allies, but they already have a couple of enemies. So if we can ally with these guys just to sort of survive, we can maybe work together to end the Dalish hegemony before it begins. Okay, perfect. We've got just enough movement to reach Garth, which is one of 3 settlements in North Rune. We'll offer trade rights. We'll demand money. I'm going to ask for, like, I think 3,000. They'll give 930. All right, we can, I think, do better than that. Let's try 1,500. All right, great. And can we get an alliance? I don't think they have any allies, so let's demand some money for this. They may want an alliance. All right, great. Now, these guys are tricky because part of their victory conditions are to take Belligant. And the AI does seem to go after their victory conditions. So I know their other victory conditions are to, defeat Dale and everything, but I think they will try to come after this sooner rather than later. So we just have to be aware of that. So where do I want my emissary to go now? It might be nice to just send him around to uncover some settlements. Let's see. Yeah, I think I do want to go down here. I know there's a city here that's initially owned by rebels, and once I uncover it, I'll be able to kind of track it throughout the game. North Rune has a settlement up here, and a settlement right up here where this blue banner is, and that's all they start with initially. So they got 3 cities, and hopefully they'll be preoccupied with Dale. Okay. I think we want another emissary. Let's take one here. The population in Rathwin is, it's actually decent, better than I thought. But what I like to do is to play the authority game whenever I'm playing 4th Age Total War. For those of you who might be new to the mod, this mod has an amazing trait system with a lot of detail and thought put into it. And this was not my work, so I can praise it to the heavens without sounding too arrogant, right? But the one of the features of it, and it's not in one of the traits actually, but is authority. Now, because it's turn 0 effectively, I haven't even clicked the end turn button yet. My king's authority is showing as 0. This is going to change. Next turn we'll see it go up. The authority stat is shown as the little crowns. It's kind of like influence in Rome Total War, but it's also similar to authority in Medieval Total War, the first game, in that the crowns, the number of, the rank of the authority of your faction leader has an impact on the effectiveness of your governors and your generals. So let's take a look at this guy. This is the heir of the king, and his authority doesn't really matter, in terms of affecting the effectiveness of other troops because he's not the king. For him, authority just means public order in his settlement and like how many bodyguard guys are in his unit of bodyguards. But one of the traits that every general, every family member has, apart from the king, is what we call the opinion of liege trait. This guy's currently at supportive, but it can go up or down. And so the higher the authority of the faction leader, the higher this opinion of liege trait is going to be. And the higher that gets, the more bonuses this guy is going to get as a governor and as a general. So it behooves you to make the authority stat go up. And how you do that is by, 1, making sure you got low taxes everywhere. People don't like a lot of taxes. Your king is going to be seen as more generous, more authoritative if he can live with low taxes. You also want to do things like conquer. You want to do things like not lose territory, not be under siege a lot. You want to make money and have a lot of money in your treasury. And you want to have more allies than enemies, broadly speaking, if you want your authority stat to go up. So diplomacy, plays into it. Finances play into it. There's a lot. So this is why I will be having low taxes pretty much everywhere. Okay. The other thing that can help that opinion of liege trait is putting a province on local governance so the governor is going to get benefits. And, you know, I guess I may as well at this point. Because, you know, he's going to be here, I suppose. I guess I could use the king. Let's see how old the king is, you know, for a general. But he's a poor governor, so I may as well sort of take him out. He is seasoned. So you notice there's no age traits in this mod. That's because we've got elves, we got dwarves, we got hobbits. And, you know, we don't want to necessarily give the impression that they're dying as soon as they hit age 65. So instead of that, we've got traits. And this seems not to have any effects, but it actually does. This is tracking the age of the character, and it is affecting, you know, what other kind of traits he can get and how good he's going to be fighting and things. So seasoned means we may not have him for very long. Let's go ahead, though, and train some stuff. We've got an emissary coming here, which is fine. And, yeah, I think we want to train... Let's get some cav. We don't have any. Let's see about building as well. We're going to want this anyway, States and Farmlands Charter. A lot of times it makes sense to wait until your guys get their governance traits. But actually, what we could probably do is take this guy out. And, you know, I'm kind of rethinking this. I want a garrison force first. Let's take this guy out, everybody but these. We're just going to stand him here. And we might want to grab the mercs. Let's hold on, though. What I'm thinking about doing, actually, because we've got a competent governor here, is having him come down and rule Belligant. So I'm thinking about completely changing my mind. Let's do this. Yeah, let's just have him march over there fast. And so because of that, we don't need to worry about local governance. We'll just bring him over here. He's going to run Belligant. This guy I want... Geez, maybe I want to go for Dale, like, immediately. I think that kind of makes sense. We'll move him over there to sort of start taking advantage of Dale as fast as we can. And we can also spend some money on military stuff. I think we want to go for muster fields here, even though it's going to put us in debt for this turn. Just in the sense that we're going to be losing more money than we're making. I usually don't like to do that, but 3 seasons for like cav and archers I think is worth it over there. And here, yeah, let's go for Estates and Farmlands. Now you'll notice we took the king out, and now this is cheaper. It's 500 Mirian. So yeah, let's just queue it up. We're going to want that anyway. And I think that's pretty much all we need to do for our very first turn. We'll see what his authority looks like. You know, I don't necessarily want to leave this totally empty of troops, but we're going to need our best guys against Dale. We're making 3,000. Yeah, let's go ahead and grab the cavalry. And I think it might be a good idea to put a watchtower somewhere. Let's go right here. It's 2,500 in this mod, so you do have to think about it a little. I'm thinking if we're going to lose one of these provinces, it's probably going to be Rathwin rather than Belligant. So a watchtower in the province of Belligant will last longer. All right, let's go right up towards Rathwin now. All of you guys, and we've got a half stack. This is kind of reasonable. We've got 2 archers, we've got 1 cav. But we also have the cavalry of our general, which we haven't seen yet. And this is Dorwinian nobles. So this is our bodyguard unit. They are sword-armed cavalry. And when we were developing this faction, they went through a lot of changes in terms of what their bodyguard would be. Initially, it was like a halberd unit, I think, and just so like a lot of infantry. And that was actually very threatening. You know, it was not something that you could necessarily just ignore, you know, having 80 really tough halberdiers. But on the other hand, if you had some archers, you know, if you had skirmish units, you could really take them out pretty easily. And so we thought, I think this may have been Webba's idea, to have some, you know, sort of like mounted infantry for their bodyguard. in the sense that these are not super effective at the charge, not as effective as they would be if they had a spear. But they've got a sword, and the idea is that they're going to hang out in melee and be pretty effective that way. So that's our bodyguard unit. I think I'll probably go for another watchtower up here, and then we'll sort of decide how we want to approach Dale. But let's look at our news. We got an expert treasure seeker for our king here for recruiting some mercenaries. So that's actually nice, plus 5% trade income. So we may want to give this to a governor. And what did we get here? Okay, yes. So the reason I mentioned earlier that attacking the dwarves initially is kind of problematic is that not only are they allied with Dale, they're allied with Dale kind of like all the Roman factions are allied with each other in vanilla Rome Total War. That is to say, if you go to war with one, you're going to war with all of them. So there's only a couple of factions in the mod that work like that. The dwarves and Dale are one. They are, said to have a very kind of close alliance. If you think of the War of the Ring, the battles that they fought up there, at the Lonely Mountain with King Dane and King Brand, that sort of relationship seems very solid. So we've kind of included them in this super faction status. The other one is Rohan and the Reunited Kingdom. And so what they're doing here is they're following the Reunited Kingdom into the wars, and the same thing with the dwarves. So that means those four factions in particular are going to be hard to make peace with because they're always going to go back to war with their allies' enemies. All right, let's go down here. Yep, that's our rebel settlement at Vayar Helkar. There's not much to it. There's a lot of rebels here. There is timber, so that's nice, but I don't think it's worth taking it initially. We kind of want to leave the rebel settlements for the other factions at first, because not only do we trade with them, but the other factions can, spend their blood and treasure trying to take them. Okay, let's just go ahead with consultation. This is a relatively cheap building. He already gets a discount on it, and he's not a governor yet, but he will be in a couple of turns, and then he'll get some big discounts so we can afford to invest in some of these things like wineries and irrigation and roads. Okay, we've got our emissary here. He's a master of tongues. Very nice.
Noble master.
And I think we're going to send him over to Dorwinion.
Your honor.
They are on my menu, ideally. But let's start with trade rights and let's bleed them for money if we can. Let's see. Well, you still got some cash. All right, they give us 3,000 for trade. And let's try... Oh, I don't necessarily want to ally with them. Well, I mean, if I'm already trading with them, the reason I'm hesitating here is because you do get sort of diplomatically penalized if you break alliances and break trade and things like that. But I'm already trading, right? So if I decide opportunistically to go to war with Dorwinian, I'm already going to be breaking that bond. So kind of like, what's one more? And also, Dale is my first target. Let's see if they will pay for it. Make single payment. Will they give me another 3,000 for alliance? I don't think they have any other allies. All right, let's do it. Because here's what I'm planning. I'm planning a surgical strike. Now, this is probably way too early, and I'm being way too impatient here. But I'm thinking, if we go up the river here, we don't have to step on their territory, and we can take this army all the way up the river, and we can actually bypass the towns of Dale that are around here and go right for their homeland initially, like first thing. And hopefully, Dale will be none the wiser. So I think I'll do that. Let's take the emissary over to the Bjornings, and if we can ally with the Bjornings and attack Dale, the Bjornings may side with us, and that will remove an ally from Dale, kind of like weakening them. The Bjornings might decide to attack them in the west. And so, like, I want my first province to be like Dale itself, if I can get it. I don't know how likely that is. I've only got a half stack. We're going to be relying on mercenaries. Let's see. What could I use now? Probably a skirmisher, because yeah, these guys are really, really effective. They're very cheap. There's 80 of them. and they've got a nice missile attack. So I think I want to send some skirmishers with this force, and I think that'll be that. We don't have a lot else we can throw around, but we also want to be kind of building up our forces here anyway. You know what? Let's send him. Let's just send him. It'll be a while before the North Rune faction comes over to hurt us. Okay, so we're training troops, and we're moving our emissary to get an alliance with Rune. There's no point in getting an alliance with the dwarves. I mean, I guess we could, just for the sake of some money, but they're going to be at war with us pretty soon if we go to war with Dale. Okay, so we've got a coming of age. Oh, wow, this is great. And this is just in time, because our king is going to die relatively soon. And this guy's both a competent governor and commander, and so he's going to be very young. This is perfect. So in terms of how we've imagined Dorwinian in terms of their culture and everything, every faction in the mod has multiple what we call subcultures. They represent, you know, different subsets of the population. For Dorwinian, there are tower men, which is, this is a descendant of those who governed the small cities and patrolled the watchtowers of Dorwinian, mainly of Northmen blood, but with some Dunedainic strain. Towermen generally make up the leadership of Dorwinian. They are staunch defenders of their towns and skilled managers of the wealth that is created there, but most have little experience as riders or leaders of companies of horse. So this is actually an excellent subculture for us. +1 command when defending walls, plus 5% income tax, and the only penalty associated with it is -1 command when commanding cav. The only time that's going to kick in is if we have an army that is 50% or more cavalry. And that's going to be very rare as Dorwinian. So this is going to be just all bonuses all the time. You know, arguably the defending wall command bonus is not going to kick in all that much, and the 5% income tax is only going to be useful when you're a governor, but I'll take it. The other subcultures, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think they've got some Dale people that they're going to show up here as well. Like a man of Dale might be one of them. What are you? You're probably a tower man too. So we don't have any other guys who are from other subcultures, but I'll try to remember to look at them when they pop up. All right, so we'll go for one more here. I think I want to go for another Rovanian Forester. So we've got now, let's see. And let's put you right in the army before I forget. So we've got 2 bodyguard cav. We're about to have 2 sort of light cav. Let's go for a 3rd. We don't have as many archers as I would like, but the issue is Dale's archers are just way better anyway. Let's see what other news we got. All right, Belligant, consultation, and money's going pretty good. 965, I mean, that's not great. But we've already queued up our military training, so let's see. Let's actually put this on growth while I'm remembering. He's a competent governor, so that's going to be good. He's getting a bonus to discount. Let's just keep spending, even though he's not getting his discount yet, because he's not technically governor yet. All right. I believe there's a settlement around here that we can find, and we're going to be adding a couple of more units to this stack, and maybe I'll just keep training cav and sending them up here. Again, I'm not going to go super heavy on cav, but having like 4 light cav units seems like a good move. And then we're going to bring you over to the Bjornings. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let's go for Holt. Okay, we can't trade with them yet, but let's try an alliance and like maybe see if they'll pay. I doubt it. They've already got an ally. Oh, okay. Great. So we just made 1,000 there. And before I do anything else, I want to get eyes on this settlement. Down here, the East Bight starts off as a rebel province, and there's a town right here. And if I can get a visual on it, it'll just make it easier for me to track throughout the campaign. Like, who owns it? Does Rovanian take it? Do the Bjornings take it? Does a Dunabar take it? But I'm gonna want another agent pretty soon, because we're gonna want to start, you know, getting eyes up here. So There's my cav.
Captain.
There's another cav. There's another skirmisher. And I've got one, so 2 skirmishers. Oh, did I not train a skirmisher? I think I trained a spearman. Well, let's go for another skirmisher. I definitely want one of those. Oh, no, I just moved the wrong guy. Okay. So, yeah, you can go back in, and let's go for, since we've got 2 of these skirmishers, I don't know. We've got 1, 2, 3 really good spears, 2 halberdiers, and then the sword. So that's like a really good front line. I don't think I want to mess it up by adding more squishy stuff. So, ooh, do I want a 3rd skirmisher or a 3rd archer? I think we'll go with you. All right, Harondor and Adunabar are at war. That's fine. It looks like Harondor attacked Adunabar. Okay. All right, making 1,000.
Noble master.
Let's see, where is the province?
Without delay.
Okay, Raycoast, there it is. So this is our first contact with Rune. Now, we may not be able to get any money out of him. Let's see. Yeah, usually when it's like this, when you don't share a border, the AI is not going to pay you for trade. But let's try an alliance. They start with an alliance, I think, with 2 factions, with Adunabar and with Khand, or maybe only with Khand. And they have a military alliance with Khand, which is, you know, maybe a little harder for them to break. So they may not feel like allying with us at all, but let's just ask. All right, okay. Get a little bit of money out of that. Now, the problem with Rune is, of course...
Without delay.
Yeah, I think they need to get Belligant, too. So they're 2 provinces away, or 1 province away from war with us, is one way of looking at it. If they take this, right, which they can very soon, then they border Belligant. And, you know, what can you do? So we want to start to build that up. Let's start going with some archers then for the walls. The nice thing about Belligant, by the way, is it's one of very few settlements in the mod that began with a timber wall, which is kind of like a stone wall in the sense that you can't like break it down. You got to go over like with ladders, I think, or maybe siege towers. So they're only going to ram through the gate. So that's nice. And let's see if our guy has gotten lordship. He has. He's not attuned yet. That's a trait that's going to show up at the bottom here. And now notice he started off as, what was it, supportive, but now he is dutiful. So because he is, you know, the authority of our king has kicked in, he has gotten a lordship and he is running his own place. He is dutiful. So that's great. That's giving us some bonus. If you look down at the bottom of this tooltip, plus 10% to 3 different kinds of income, cheap, you know, discount to training troops, and morale. So that's going to be awesome. I hope he's going to stick around for a long time. He is mature, so hopefully that'll be good. And we do need to up the military here as well, though, because all we've got right now are light stuff, as indicated by the Rovanian prefix. Once we get up to the Dorwinian stuff at, I think this is tier 3, then we get our Dorwinian watch, our Dorwinian bowman. So it's going to be worth getting up there, but it's so expensive that we're going to want to wait until we get some more discounts. So for building, I kind of don't want to do anything right now. You know, arguably we could go up this tree. The Hall of Drinking gives us some public order, but it also eventually gets us agents. I think this is where we get... Oh, that's the healer. This is where we get assassins, right? A rogue is basically what we call assassins in the mod. So if we want to, you know, start dealing with enemy settlements and, you know, sabotage and maybe taking out the odd agent here or there, a rogue might be nice, but I'm not going to spend anything on it just yet. Just to do a little bit of spending, it might be a good idea. These buildings, the sort of the cultural buildings that, you know, convert the alignment, come with a lot of great benefits. So it's a really good idea to build them. Since I don't have a governor here, and it's 9,000, how much would that be making? Make us another 200. Minus 70, though. Gives us more law, gives us more experience. You know, like, it's good. But I think I'm just going to hold off. You know, this might be better because in the sense that it's just straight up 200 and population growth. Let's cheap it out a little bit. Go for the animal husbandry. And get our emissary down here. There's Thrimfeld. And I think I want eyes on, like, maybe a couple more. Let's get down around here, because there's a settlement here that controls all of this area, the Brownlands, which is going to be very important for us to keep an eye on. Again, playing in the East feels so different. Like, if you're following the channel kind of concurrently, I'm also wrapping up a Tharbad campaign where I'm playing over here. And playing in the West, you've got a lot more rivers, you've got mountain ranges, you've got thick forests in a lot of cases, and you've just got a lot of choke points where you can conquer and just kind of hold in a place and know that no one is going to attack me anywhere else. That is manifestly not the case out in the East, right, where there's just these wide open plains. So we have to pay attention to the borders of important provinces, and the region of the Brownlands, because it takes up so much area here, is kind of like a cornerstone of how the campaign is going to play out. It's roughly in the center of the map, right, for one thing. And so you can kind of tell, based on who owns it, sort of who's gaining momentum to some extent. So if a Dunabar owns this, I can tell that, okay, they might be doing well. If Rohan owns it, I'm worried. If the Reunited Kingdom owns it, that's terrible news for me, probably. If Ravanian owns it, it's probably early in the campaign. If Rune owns it, so I'll want to just know. And I think that's it. Okay, but yes, I do want to bring you up north. There's also a rebel settlement somewhere around here. Yeah, Thordram. So again, this is another important settlement to track, because either Rune or North Rune is going to go for it. And I want to make sure that I know when that's happening. When those rebel provinces disappear, usually you are next on the menu of a bigger faction. All right, so there's my Cav. We've almost got a full stack here.
Sir! Forward! Yes, Captain! Onward!
Okay. Let's see. I may want to actually stop, because yeah, we want to save room for a few mercenaries that we're going to find. So let's go up here, and I want to go as far as I can on my territory without trespassing if possible. Set up a watchtower like right about here. That'll give me eyes on the southern province of Dale, and also on this settlement of Ravanian.
Yes.
All right, where is Mid-Deeping? Right there, good enough. And now let's come back over here. There is Rovanos. So let's just see what kind of units they got.
Out of moves, sir.
All their basic stuff. And out here, all their basic stuff with the exception of this. So this is the unit that we can't train, but I think we can if we get Rovanos ourselves. So this is like one of Rovanian's only unique units. The other one they get is a really cool sort of skirmisher, axe, guerrilla infantry ambusher unit. I don't think we get that, but we could get this. And their bodyguard is also different. They get Rovanian nobles, which is javelins and spears. So their cavalry is in some ways better than ours in terms of their bodyguards. So they can be rather intimidating, actually. But now we'll bring the emissary back up. Okay, 1700. Let's see. Are you attuned? It looks like he is. Look at how much money we're saving. No, he's just a lord. Wow, so that's going to be even better in a couple of turns. I think... Jeez. So we are sort of at an important point here at Rathwin. This is a settlement that we could develop into military, but only if we develop it as a military province. So the policy buildings that you see, this one right here, consultation, this would allow us to choose, do we want the settlement to become military or financial? And open policy is only available in chief cities, and that would be the cities with this little blue banner next to them. So our capital is an open policy settlement, and that means you can build everything, but every other settlement you have to choose. Do you want military? Do you want financial? This, by the way, points to a policy type that we don't have, which is administrative. That's only available to the Dunedainic and the Haradrian factions. And this policy choosing, by the way, is only something that the Manish factions have to worry about. The elves, the dwarves, they can pretty much do whatever they want, I believe. But for Rathwin, right, like we're going to have to decide military or financial. If you go with military, you're going to be able to build this tier, right? This requires either open or military policy. And we could eventually get this at Rathwin, right? And that gives us all of our native stuff, right? Their Dorwinian watch, those men-at-arms, the halberdiers. But if we go with financial, we'll be able to get the high-level traders and things, right? This gives us our scout, the spy, basically. And it gives us, our trade income. I think that Rathwin, I want that maybe to be a military province. Military is going to allow us to get healer for more pop growth. Actually, we can do this regardless of policy. Not going to lock us out of anything there. This we can do regardless of policy. This we can do regardless of policy. So, the only thing that we're going to be missing is these upper tiers of trade, but I think that's okay because Dorwinian itself is going to be our trade province. So it'll be nice to have a place where we can train some tough military guys. So let's actually do this. We'll bite the bullet. We will commit to military in Rathwin. All right, and I've moved everybody, I think. Yeah. Trade rights with Dale. All right. Let's see if we can get, like a decent amount of money out of you. Give 530. I don't want to hurt my reputation. All right, we've got a competent commander here, and he is one of the other subcultures. He is a man of Dale, so he's marrying into the family, and these tend to be skilled in trade and building. Most are loath to see the fruits of their labors taxed heavily and make poor tax collectors themselves as a result. So this is actually a pretty good one, too. Yes, the income tax hurts, but the trade is really nice. And the decrease to construction costs is also pretty good. He's mature. He's a competent commander. He might be a guy who could work as the governor of Rathwin, because I'm going to want someone in there who can defend and help out. And he is frugal, so that's going to be even better with construction. He's a poor governor now, so that kind of hurts income a little bit. But he is, as you will note, intelligent as well. And that means he's going to get better faster. So he won't be a poor governor for long, and he's going to always be a competent commander. So let's go with it. He's unwise, that hurts, but I think having a governor here is going to be helpful. So is he in Rathwin? Perfect. We're going to put this down to growth to make sure that he's all happy with his lot in life, and we're going to do his first order of business is commanding military policy in Rathwin. Okay. So the income is starting to dry up now. Geez, should we bite the bullet for hosting halls? He's not attuned yet. Let's give him another couple of turns because all this stuff is pretty expensive. But we can keep training, I think. Let's go with these guys are so cheap. 90 per turn. That's our cheapest unit. So let's go with one more. And here, yeah, let's do the same. Another archer.
Orders.
Yeah, we're already getting into the, the profit. Let's see. I want to go right here. Build my watchtower.
Build tower.
Perfect. So I can see both of these just barely. Let's see what other alliances have been built. Okay, good. My hope is that if we attack Dale, The Bjornings will follow us, and Rovanian will not seek to exploit our position. Okay, let's get the emissary up there.
Awaiting your command, your honor.
All right, still rebel, very good.
Without delay. Moves
We'll go up
depleted,
through that area.
moves depleted, sir.
I think what I'm going to do next is just move away,
No more moves, sir.
and we will head up here, kind of through the middle of their territory. Like, arguably, I could take Burn. Depending on what they have standing outside, I could take it like in a single turn. I'd have to first attack these guys, but anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Can I be of service? Without
All right, there's Foreign Hood, and let's just keep going over here to uncover this settlement. All right, there's nothing too scary here. Rathwin is military. Okay, great. We have notified that Tind of Rathwin is an attuned governor. Now, confusingly, that is, he's not in Rathwin, he is just of Rathwin. So he is attuned, which means he gets some more, 10% more bonus, decrease to construction costs, all kinds of stuff. So this is great. Our income now should be better, and that saves us 1,000, right? Off of just building those hosting halls. So I think I do want to go with that. It's not going to help our economy any, but I want to be able to build Dorwinian bowmen, or sorry, Dorwinian watch in particular. The bowmen, it's kind of a difficult call for me because you have Rovanian hunters, which, yes, have a missile attack of 4, but they have 70 men. The Dorwinian bowmen have a missile attack of 8, but only 50. So what's better? You know, in practice, the cheaper unit with more men in it seems to perform better and is certainly easier to retrain. I guess the thing about the Dorwinian bowmen is that they can operate as nice and effective little flankers in a pinch. So, you know, they're not only archers, but hybrid units are tricky, right? It's kind of difficult to figure what is the best use for them sometimes. Definitely don't let them get shot up in melee. Okay, he's not the lord of anything yet, but he will be relatively soon. Let's go with... Jeez. The defense, this is our best defense unit currently. You'd think the spears would be, but the Romanian axemen are pretty decent. Let's go with one of them. And I know this is costing us a lot, but yeah, let's go with another one here.
Captain.
And I'm a little worried now about getting up in their face.
Move out.
But let's do it.
To ambush.
We're just going to move on through and see what happens here.
Sir.
Okay, this is good because, yes, all right.
Without delay.
This is very, very good. So Dale is over here, but they're not over here in strength. Hopefully North Rune will be able to beat them back, and if not, hopefully Gargal will rebel. So Dale is, I think, going to be kind of distracted here.
Your honor.
Let's see, let's move our... Oh, good, there's some rebels here too.
Your honor.
Awesome.
Your honor.
Okay, we got a couple of smallish armies.
Without delay.
Okay, that's Yodor.
Captain.
I could almost take it.
Sir.
I think they would retreat.
Your honor.
You know, that's the danger here.
Orders.
That I attack them, they just retreat into the city, and then I've declared war, and then it's, you know, they're gunning for me immediately. So let's go to the forests. Let's hide.
Awaiting your
Let's
command.
hope they don't get wise to what we're planning here. Because look, they're bringing troops down, and these are the guys that I'm worried about. Black Spears. There's something like, it's a good number of men. It's maybe 70 or 80. but it might be more. And they are very strong, and they have javelins, so throwing spears. That's the thing that makes them really scary. So I don't like them. We're going to try to avoid them. What else they got? We don't know. Okay, so we're going to want to keep an eye on this. This is what's keeping North Rune off our back currently. So that's great. Let's see, 2 archers. Let's get a 3rd, and you've got 2. Let's get a cav for you. All right, we've not been attacked by Dale. Good. North Rune has just managed to hold him off. And that's awesome because I don't want North Rune to get too strong either and start feeling safe. So we're going to keep our emissary here moving around. So Dale does still have this fort. This is kind of a nice strategic thing, but it's also a bit of a trap because forts are not in and of themselves very defensible. It seems strange, but I think this is pretty logical too. Like a little fort, it's like, yeah, you can hang out there for a little while, but a big army is going to take it eventually. So what it's for is just slowing down the enemy and letting your reinforcements get here before they can cross the river. So this looks like the big Dale army that's coming over to hit North Rune.
Without delay.
And that's awesome. Keep going that way. Let's check the news first. Rohan and Tharbad are allied. All right, like they could turn down and hit Rathwin and I'd be screwed. So this is a concern. And it's worth every now and then popping outside just to see if there are mercenaries available. There's not, but that doesn't shift the traits or anything. So he's going to be attuned pretty soon here. And this is just 2 seasons left. Making 1800, I don't know why. Oh, because this is no longer under siege, so we are trading with them again. So it's good for our economy if if North Rune does well. All right, let's go with you. We're down to 1,000. I don't like to go much lower than that. Let's go with you.
Captain. Noble master.
And let's see.
Your honor. Your honor. Orders forward. Waiting to ambush. Your honor.
All right.
Once.
There's Dale. Look at that. Look at just how
Captain.
how vulnerable it looks.
Move out. Ready to ambush.
It's kind of a trick because if only we could get around, and we could go all around through Dwarven territory, right, and come at it from the west, which would probably be the better move. I don't want to fight on this ford actually, so I'm really strongly contemplating going all the way around. We go around here, we have access to Dale and or Esgaroth, right? And then we don't have to fight on this crossing, which is actually very heavily wooded and very tricky. So I think I'm going to try that. While no one is quite sure just what I'm doing, I'm just passing through. This feels, I don't know, this could be a really dumb start to your Dorwinian campaign. So I'm not sure that this is the good move. In fact, I mean, we're losing money here. We were at 30,000 and now we're barely above 20,000. All right, I want to get like at least a half stack in both of these settlements. 2, 3. Let's get a 4th archer. Let's get a 2nd cav. All right, we're still kind of making a little money.
Captain.
Now, the thing that I am worried about is the dwarves, because they could hit me. And, they could hit me regardless. But these factions that are passive on the campaign map, and the dwarves and the elves and the Shire are 3 factions that don't move when you're not playing them. They pretty much stay in their lands and they just build. But they can be very aggressive in defending those lands if you trespass. So the thing I'm like worried about now is if it's possible for me to pass through this in a single turn.
Captain.
And it might be. Like, if I stand here... Alright, yeah, that's a transgression message from Dale. I don't want to fight these guys, you know? But if I can pass up and around, and come down on the west side, that might be worth it.
Your honor. Your honor. Your honor.
I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll wait one more season. I'm a little disappointed that I'm not seeing any mercenaries at all on this trip. Just check him again. He's not attuned yet. And okay, is still sort of holding around here, which is great. All right, we are making a little, which is kind of hard to believe. Okay, so this guy is now attuned. Awesome. So we can now start building here if we feel like it, which I probably should. Okay, some alliances there. All right, we've got our hosting halls in Belligand. Great. So this means that now we can stiffen the ranks with Dorwinian Watch. Now, that's going to take up a lot of money, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do one unit there, and I might have one unit here and one unit here just to make things a bit better. We could go for hosting halls in Rathwin, but I'm feeling a little vulnerable. Now is the time for the Lord's Feasts. This cost, what was it, 9,000 or 10,000 before? So I know this is a lot of our money, but this is going to help us out. It's going to increase our income by over 100, and it's going to increase the experience of all of our units. So I think that's going to be worth it.
Orders.
All right, it's telling me that I could make it around here in a single turn.
Sir, without delay. At once.
If there's any dwarves in the way, that's not true, but there don't seem to be.
Forward. Out of move.
All right.
Be of service.
So, we are now on Dale's territory. We're not ambushing because we're just out of movement points, right? So I don't think that counts as ambushing. Next turn, we can attack Dale. Dale itself. Okay. We're not building anything in Belligant. I'm going to take a turn off. All right, Dale, you going to do anything? Nope. They're not going to attack me yet. Okay, I don't see any guys around here. But it might be time to offer our allies a bit of assistance. So what you can do, and I don't know if this is going to work, is we can go here. Oh, geez, look at this. Oh, that's a big army too.
Without delay.
I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, I'm going to offer to attack a faction. I'm going to offer an attack on Dale. And this is a little risky because you can demand things, and sometimes they will agree to the demand, and sometimes they will just use this as an opportunity to like drop their alliance. But my demand will be give me a single payment. And I'm just going to ask for like 1,000, and I'm going to say, I'll attack them if you give me 1,000. Yeah, we can't be trusted. I wonder if that's because of that transgression message. So that's unfortunate. You know, they know that I've been trespassing on other people's lands. I should have maybe just offered it as a gift. But what we're going to do now is let's just make really sure there's no enemy armies in here.
Your honor. Your honor.
Okay, and then I'm going to end him like over here.
At once.
Yeah, there's a dwarven army right up there. But if I step carefully, they won't be a problem. And I want to get right south of where my emissary is, and that tile.
March.
This is going to be real tricky to do. There we go. Okay, and I want to attack this army, and I want to get these guys to come out as reinforcements. And let's see what they are. Oh gosh, a couple of Hearthmen of Dale. They've got the king here. And they've got a couple of black spears. The king, by the way, leads an army of these dragon slayers, which is a bit ostentatious for a name, if I'm honest. And then, you know, this army is a unit of black spears. So we're going to attack. Yep. And they're going to go with it. All right. All right, I'm going to make a hard save here because I'm going to call this Dale... Dale LP1, let's say. All right. This episode's going to go a little long, and that's okay with me. We'll see if this battle is going to be anything. Because the other issue is, sometimes with this kind of a battle, the AI is just getting on the field in order to make a long retreat. There's this thing that you can do, and the AI can do this as well, where if you're on the campaign map and you click the withdraw button, you're only going to withdraw like as far as your movement points allow. But if you actually get to the battlefield and withdraw from there, if you have movement points left, you will go like as far as you need to go to get back to a home territory or something. So it's a bit messed up. But the AI makes much use of it. All right, I guess I will keep you guys kind of like that. We're going to need to use the cav. We're going to have to kill the king, and we're going to have to kill, like, everybody else. So the tiny army is ahead of us. That's the single unit of black spears. The army of Dale is over here, right? Or down here? I can't see the settlement. So I'm not quite sure where it is. It might be right to our left, right off to the west, because I think it kind of is over there. What we're going to have to do is set up in such a way that we encourage them to come on the field, but also not spook them. I'm just going to group everybody right now, see if we can get some guys in the trees. I will take 1,000,000 losses in this battle if I can win it and get the city, right? Like, I will lose all of these guys happily. So the big thing you want to do is obviously, okay, let's get all of you. So this big army's going to come from here. I think they're going to have to come on the field. Let's see if they're here. And I do want to be hiding if I can. All right, great. You're hiding, you're hiding, you're hiding. You guys are not hiding. Maybe you can hide right here. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'll put you in shield wall. Great, you're hiding. Great, so this is a messed up line. It's like not an effective line at all. That's okay. Put my archers here just to hide them. I want the AI to think that I'm not actually anywhere until they're like right on top of me. Great, you're not gonna skirmish away. Oh, that's right. My archers are there. That's fine. The cav can go like, I don't know, the light cav over here, let's say. All right, they are right here.
In a pathetic attempt to save themselves.
All right, let's step into the woods and hide. You gonna hide? Yes. All right, stop marching. There's like one guy can't get around this tree. Oh shoot! Never mind. Never mind. Cancel. They just decided to stop. All right. Go around here, I think.
Swordsman.
All right, come on. Are you coming? Or are they just going back home? Now, even if we defeat that entire army, if we don't defeat this one unit, we won't get the city. So this is a little silly, but I think it's still worth it to try to defeat these guys. All right, let's get in shield wall. All right, there's black spears. Oh, gosh. All right, they're rushing in. Great. More black spears, Hearthmen of Dale. All right, let's kill the king, kill the king, kill the king. Pin him with the spears. Kill him with halberds. All my cavalry up and around. What else we got here? All right, those are black spears. That's actually bad. Dorwinian watch. And go up there and take care of them, please. I just, you know, you can't see what's going on, of course. These guys are winning. That's all right. You want to kind of let them win a little bit. Right, Hearthmen are coming around. That's not great, but we can deal with them with cav. We pull our own cav back. All right, he's getting out of there. Damn. Is he withdrawing? Kind of looks like he's withdrawing. Maybe not, maybe not. All right, I'm charging into the back of the Hearthmen. All right, cancel that. If they're just going to withdraw off the field, I'll let them. All right, let's take these guys instead. Oh, it's so frustrating. All right, so he's leaving with all of his guys here. Yeah, he's off the battlefield. So we've got to kill all these guys ourselves without being able to get the city, which is sad. How are we doing here? Black spears are losing heavily. Hearthmen evenly matched. Let's throw the axemen in, I guess. Try to tip the balance there. Losing heavily, but still 47 men. And Black Spear's losing heavily. Alright, let's pull out our cav. We'll try again. 43 versus 40. Okay, so they got 43 left also. And 42. All right, we'll let them get a good charge off. All right, those black spears are routing. Let's hit the Hearthmen and these. There we go. There we go. Great. And that's everybody routing. So we'll just wrap that up. Well, that is disappointing on the one hand. We're not going to get the city. At least we didn't lose a family member. And we did kill a couple hundred of very strong units there. So that's something. That's going to make taking the city a little bit easier. There's still going to be that general in there. There's still going to be a unit of Hearth troops. There's still going to be a unit of Black Spears. And maybe a few others that are kind of left. And we're going to have to fight this as a defensive battle, almost certainly, because I don't think they're going to allow us to assault, which I think I would assault. If I can, next turn, I'm going to assault the city of Dale. So that's the plan. We'll see if we've screwed our very first episode as Dorwinian by attacking Dale too soon, too far from our homeland. But my theory behind this is, obviously, if we get Dale, this is huge. This is the only place where they can train their highest level stuff initially. It opens us up to take Esgaroth almost immediately. We can eventually maybe take Erebor. The dwarves are going to be at war with us next turn. They may even attack us to help their allies. But it just makes it so much easier. If you try to take Dale from this end, these towns don't produce that much in terms of scary units or money. So you could take these, yeah, but Dale is going to have monstrous troops coming down the road. So I think it's better to strike the head of the snake first, and that's going to be what we will do. So the next episode, we're going to kick this up again, see if we can conquer Dale, see if we can hold our homelands, and hopefully do it all fast enough so that the surrounding factions that we've allied with don't sniff weakness and try to exploit the opportunity that have made for them. So I hope to see you then. Until the next episode, take care.